Hi guys, welcome to today's video. This was actually a recommendation from someone on Instagram, so definitely go check out my Instagram because you guys can ask for specific videos that you guys want, clarification that you guys want. This is all for you and I's journey together, and how can we do it if it's just one-sided, right? I got this recommendation from one of my reading clients actually, and she asked me to do a video on how to connect into our own spiritual gifts. So as you guys probably know, I am a medium. I fucking hate that term if you ask me that, because I think it means to a lot of people, I am better than you, or I have an ability that you don't have, and in order to connect in with the other side, you have to come to me. That is not it at all. I hate that entirely. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me spiritually. Mediumship is a practice. It's something that we can all do, and it's something that has been gatekept, I feel like, for so long. The best way to start your connection with spirit is relationship with self. We all have a God self, like I talked about in my video 2, how to work through depression. It's relationship with self, your God self and your human self. Your human self can only perceive what we can perceive. And so when you're perceiving life and you're moving through life as your human self, as we all do and should and can, we can only perceive and believe what we can see and perceive and believe with our senses, right? I can touch my lights, I can touch the camera, I can feel you guys, a little bit of ASMR, and I can interact with what I can perceive, but I can't necessarily perceive with my human senses the other side, as I call it. The other side is beyond the veil of illusion. The other side is what's happening around us without us being able to see or hear or touch or feel it or whatever. Now, some people just seem to have this clairvoyant sense about them where they can hear spirit and they can touch or feel spirit and they can see spirit. And those clairvoyant abilities are sometimes you're just born with them. But in order to understand them and in order for anyone to connect with the other side, you have to have relationship with self. So your self, your God self, your spiritual self, I feel, is your connection to the other side. It's like your portal to the other side, if you will. And without that, you cannot perceive the other side. I feel like a lot of spiritual healers, light workers, leaders in spirituality, I don't fucking know, they feel like they have more training or more ability than other people, and that the other realms are very dangerous. This is something I have a huge problem with, because as much as I know that there has been issues where people have been afraid of the other side, fear does not exist on the other side. Fear only exists in the physical realm as I understand it. And so if you are fearing the other side, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Then obviously you're going to perceive as a human the other side as being fearful. Does that make sense? Like, anytime somebody's like, oh, be careful with like connecting into the other side or channeling, or dark spirits are around you, or there's evil around you, I completely disagree. If you are perceiving it as evil or whatever, or you've had an evil experience, I think that is fear perceived. I don't think that it is based in fear, because fear does not exist on the other side. So as you're building your relationship with self and you are constantly connecting in with your God self, with your spiritual self, you're then constantly connecting in with the other side, the unperceivable, and you're able to feel what that God self is feeling. And I feel like that is a great portal into the other side. I think that there's a huge problem when we just try to connect in from anywhere, and if you connect in with an inherent feeling of fear, then you are going to perceive fear, like I said. And so evil spirits or whatever can come and attach to you and stuff like that. I was told that a lot when I was growing up in spirituality. And I feel that that's because you go in from a human standpoint and you create human things in your brain about the other side, and therefore you're able to perceive the other side in a human function, which includes fear. Your God self as creation does not understand fear. Your human self understands fear because fear is a huge part of our world, but it does not exist on the other side. Love is the only thing that exists, and love is the only thing that exists in your God self as well. It is love. That is literally the energy that it is. So when you're going in from a place of having a really good connection with self and loving yourself, like I talked about in the other video, then you're going to have, you shouldn't really have any problems going into the other side and connecting in with spirits. The next thing you have to do is believe. So the first step is trusting God's self, coming in from a place of love, and then you will be saved. The second thing is trust and believe. My thing is that I got into spirituality very, very young. So I was extremely, extremely skeptical and I didn't really understand or believe any of it. So I missed a lot of messages that were actually coming through. The other side is a lot simpler to connect into than we think. It's not something that you have to have some ritual to connect in with. It's a birthright of all of us that we are able to connect in with the unperceivable. It's the part of our world. If we want to, we're able to connect in with it. And it just has to be from a place of love. So I think your intention is really important. If you're looking to connect in because you're terrified of living life without a loved one, and you need to connect in with them every single day and see them and feel them, then that's only going to bring up negative emotions and negative fears. When you're going in from a place of loving yourself and contentment within the real world, then you're going to be just fine because you have no expectation around it. So if you don't feel that you can go into the other side without expectation, you're not ready to go into the other side. You need to build relationship with self a little bit more. So step 2 is belief, is trusting that the messages that you're getting are real, are true, and believing that what you're feeling and what you're seeing maybe and what you the feelings that you're getting in your gut or the information that you're getting, that you're knowing, are not just thoughts. They are spirit coming through. Now, a great way to tell the difference is, because my spiritual connection will literally come through in my same voice. Like, it's the same sort of thing as I normally would hear, like a thought, but it's things that I have not learned on this plane. So if a thought comes through that I have not really picked up anywhere or learned anywhere or heard anywhere, like it's maybe even sounds a little bit new, but slightly truth just rings through it, like it just has an energy of truth around it, then that is probably a spiritual message. And meditating on it or writing it down or just kind of feeling through it is important. Here's the thing, it's a choice in the human world to believe whether it is real or not. You can choose to believe it, you don't have to believe it, and if you choose to believe it, then you are probably already perceiving it. If you choose not to believe it, then you are not perceiving it. Does that make sense? Another really helpful thing to help you perceive the other side or help you communicate with the other side is a tarot deck. Okay, or any oracle cards, honestly. It's the only thing that I personally have used to connect in with the other side and connect to my messages that are coming through. I don't use any crystals or pendulums or anything. I love candles sometimes and some incense. I don't burn sage. As I am a white woman, there's no need to be burning sage. I do burn incense sometimes. I hope that that's okay. And that is really just not to like burn away evil spirits or anything. It's just to keep the air fresh, and it makes me feel good, and therefore it's probably good. So really, you create your own spiritual rituals if you want them or if you feel you need them. If you get too bogged down with spiritual rituals, you're just practicing spirituality. You are not connecting to anything. So if anybody tells you that, you know, wearing this and doing that and this color, it's making it a spiritual practice. The next thing I'll say is spirituality is not as euphoric as you might think it is. Boil it right down. As a 16-year-old, instead of talking to spirit like, great spirit, I am coming to you today, as that, I literally would just talk to them like, hi, sup, like, you good? Like, I just spoke, and when they responded, I was like, okay, I guess that's true, or maybe it's not. I wouldn't really do too much with it. I wouldn't worry about it too much. I wouldn't take it too seriously. As I got older, I took it way too seriously, and I thought that I had to do all these rituals and things in order to connect in with the other side, when really it's my birthright to connect in with the other side. I'm not saying that witch practices and spiritual practices and all of these sort of things are not very, very helpful in connecting with the other side, but I think they're mostly connecting you with your God self and with ancestors and specific spirits in general. Just connecting in with the other side is literally your birthright, and the only thing blocking you is the belief that your perception is only your senses. You have a whole other self, God self, that can perceive the other side, and once you connect into that, then you can perceive the other side. So just trusting it as simple as that and speaking out loud can bring you spiritual messages and thoughts, and they don't necessarily have to be anything serious. They can just be, did you remember to eat today? Or you should move to Costa Rica, or you should kiss that person you want to kiss, or you know, whatever it is. It's just maybe loved ones or spirits or whatever is on the other side, reminding you that love exists within the world. But a tarot deck is a super duper helpful connection activator, if you will, to the other side. I can do an entire video on how to use a tarot deck in my way of doing it. I am a tarot reader. I don't use it specific to the book that comes with it. I just use a random pretty deck and I allow the cards to fall as they do. When you are in line with your love self, with your God self, with your Om self, then you can feel, you have that gut feeling of what this is trying to tell you, and it will tell you that. And you have to also understand that humanity is choice. Okay, and so following spirit as though it is a religion, and as though this means that I have to change my life and have a baby or move to Bali or whatever, and I don't have a choice in the matter, that I have to do these things because I want to follow spirit, that makes spirituality a religion. You have to make sure that your choice is always within you. Your human self makes the choice. Your God self, spirit, whatever it is, gives you options, gives you potentials, gives you just little messages, little hints of love, little guidance along the way. Your human self makes the choice. Does that make sense? So when you're getting into your spiritual self and connecting in with all these spirits and stuff, making it a religion, making it, you have to do this, you have to do that, and not having any choice, that is specifically not the point. So if you're watching a video or reading a text that tries to take your choice out of it, understand that that is in a lot of ways a religious text, and there's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of the time religions take your choice out of it and force you to follow a practice or a text, and that's not a spiritual thing. That's a spiritual practice, not a spiritual being, if that makes any sense. So we've got love self, God self, we've connecting to that, perceiving through that. We've got trust and belief. We've got activators like tarot cards to help you hear the messages. From there, it's play. Play. When it comes to spirituality, when it comes to connecting in with the other side, spirit, as I've understood them, is extremely playful. They're going to crack some fucking jokes. I oftentimes look up, just because you don't actually have to look up. They're not actually just up. They're kind of everywhere. And nowhere at the same time. I just kind of am like, is this a fucking do you think this is funny? Like, is this a joke to you guys? Just sending me this person at this time, or sending me this or sending me that? Like, do you guys get a fucking kick out of this? And half the time they're having a good laugh. It's trusting, it's believing, and it's fucking playing. Playing with them, asking them stupid questions, asking them stuff not based in fear. Understand that you cannot connect to spirit from a place of fear. I've been doing readings for about 2 years now, and I had to stop for 9 months, maybe 10 months. And that's specifically because I was in a place of fear. I couldn't really say that to my client base. I didn't really know how to say that. But how can you connect in with spirit, connect in with the other side from a place of fear yourself? When you need an answer, when you're terrified that you don't have an answer. If you don't have a relationship with self, when you aren't quiet, when you're focused on everyone else in the world, when you have this busy life and how can you connect in with the other side? When you're quiet and you have a beautiful relationship with self and you love yourself and you're coming from a place of not needing anything, but you would love to, connect in and just see what else is out there, and you're willing to be open and believe what you hear, then the messages are probably true. So I had to stop doing readings until I was in that place of love. And, when I was 16, I was working with my healer and I had no idea if I had a spiritual connection. She told me, you're going to have one. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. And it's only if I choose it. And I came back the next day to my healing session or whatever. And I said, I got the message, I think, because it just kind of popped out of nowhere into my brain. It just sounded like a thought. It sounded like a normal thought, but it just kind of wasn't something that I would naturally think, I guess. It just said, miracles are the most natural thing. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, my own thought made no sense to me. And then I was like, I think that might be a spiritual message. And I ran with it. And sure enough, she pulls out a book. I'll bring it. It's here for you. She pulls out this book, A Course in Miracles, and she says, I've been reading this and I've been wanting to give you this book. And it's so funny that you say that, because that's what it's teaching us. Miracles are the most natural things. I'm like, that's crazy. I had no idea. And that was a spiritual connection. For instance, I was doing a reading once. I was playing with my abilities at the time, and I thought that I maybe was getting these messages that were coming up in the deck, the messages that were falling and that I was running with. I was like, this is close. This sounds closer than normal. Sometimes you really have to struggle to kind of find out what Spirit's trying to say. But this person seemed very close. It seemed like a female energy. I couldn't see it. I can't see Spirit myself. I'm not clairvoyant. And I don't know how to develop that perception of Spirit, as my perception of Spirit is feeling and hearing. And I'll talk about that in a second. I said to her, I was like, is this a person, do you have a loved one that passed, almost like a best friend or maybe a mother figure? And she just burst out crying because she had lost a really dear friend of hers. And I was like, oh my God. And it was a female energy. And I was like, I think that she's trying to tell me that this is her. And if I had let my brain get in the way and say, that's not her, you're being dramatic, you can't actually do this sort of thing, like this thing doesn't exist, then I would have never been able to give her the messages that I was supposed to give. And you might be wrong, and people might not believe you, and you might not believe you, but you have to try to be open to the fact that you could be very right. And just because you're wrong once doesn't mean that you're wrong all the time. And that mediumship isn't a thing that you are, it is a thing that everybody has the ability to do. And it is just simply connecting to something that we cannot perceive with our human senses. It's very, very, very dead simple. We overcomplicate it completely. So we have to trust it. We have to believe it. We have to play with it. Play with your cards. But as soon as you feel addicted to it, as soon as you feel like you have to practice it, as soon as you feel like you have to use your cards for everything and ask Spirit for everything, and you can't decide for yourself, then you're losing relationship with self. You're losing your human choice. You're losing the point of life, and you are following Spirit as a religion. And you're bringing up fear. And that's when fear-based spirits, I guess, could come through, is when you're in a state of fear. And now being in fear is not your fault at all whatsoever. And it's not a bad thing. But you cannot connect to the other side in truth while in fear. Does that make sense? So you have to play with it and you have to believe it. So it's kind of funny, guys. I can't really sit here and tell you every single day at 5 o'clock in the morning, meditate and you will hear God. I can't tell you any of that. But when you build relationship with self, when you get into this quiet place with yourself where you're able to perceive from that God self and trust that God self, then you're kind of going to naturally start to hear things. Now, also, it's not just hearing. Obviously, you can see and feel and know Spirit. Seeing, clairvoyance, is something that will develop over time. I personally believe that everybody has a different thing that is brought up the easiest. Some people, it's clairvoyance off the bat. They've got visions, they've got all of these sort of things. Some people physically see spirit in the world. I see spirit like little lights, but nothing more than that. So I can't see like gender that they would have been in the physical world. I can't see anything like that. I literally just see little lights of energy. And I get knowings of when spirits are around me. But again, the first thing that happened was just clear hearing messages, and I could have chosen to believe that those messages were just my own thoughts, but I choose to believe that they are spiritual messages, and that's how I'm able to bring the healing that I do to myself and to others by connecting the two worlds. Does that make sense? Simply understanding that it's my birthright to be able to feel the other side and see and feel and hear things that I cannot see and feel and hear with my human body and can't perceive with my human body, but I can perceive with my God self, and I do have one like everybody else. I think it's hugely problematic for the spiritual community to gatekeep and bring fear around connecting in with the other side and make it so that only some people can do it and you have to be cleansed and this and that. Totally not the case, and that's very much detrimental to people's health because they feel like they have to go to somebody else in order to connect in with the other side, and we are denying them a birthright, and that's absolutely not okay. So you have the gift, I have the gift. It's not a gift, it's literally just a thing that we are all able to do. As humans, none of us can do it, and as God selves, all of us can do it because it's literally just there. I love you guys so much. I hope that helped. Comment down below with your questions. Check out the Instagram and request your videos if you want clarification. I also DM back for right now. Anyways, love you guys. Thanks so much.